Hello and welcome all, MAMA Goa 2025. It's always a great pleasure to host you. More so on this special day, as Garima said, you took time out to join us. And may I just say that maybe we are some part of your Valentine as well. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you. This MAMA Goa 2025 is a little more special, I would say. AppsFlyer marks a solid decade in India. 10 years of innovation, driving insights in marketing, helping customers grow and thrive in their businesses. So, a quick context of MAMA. It's not necessarily about knowledge sharing alone. I think a large part of MAMA is about networking, building new bonds, having great friends, and losing your voice. Some of the guys here last time made me lose my voice for the next 4 days. So having great fun together. I'm sure we're going to have the same fun here. Most importantly, we got to have that networking session going on. This is a platform that we kind of bring to table every year to kind of have great leaders come and share with each other. So this year we're going to have 13 MAMAs globally. We're just coming out of MAMA San Francisco, and this is the second MAMA we're going to have this year in Goa. Let's go a little bit into our stepping stone, as Garima said, in India. We started with these partners back then. Funnily, you'll see some old logos. And the logos, possibly the companies, have changed their shades and type and revenue. And with them, we have grown as well. And it's humbling to see all of these continue to work with us and here today in the audience. Thank you so much for your patronage. Fast forward today, from emerging disruptors to global leaders, AppsFlyer is powering them all, helping them with smarter decision-making with great accurate attribution systems. If I were to use the terminology that I hear from most of you when I meet, they call AppsFlyer is the holy grail of a marketing suite. I think that's what I would want to put, the backbone behind the MarTech in an ecosystem. Legacy aside, I think it's very important for us to understand what's lying ahead of future. So I'm going to give you a deep dive into the state of app marketing. But before that, I'm just going to quickly run through these two opportunities that we see are going to make great impact in near future. You're going to hear this quite often today, AI, right? No presentation, no speech, no talk is complete unless we speak about AI. And it's maturing fast. AI is revolutionizing how we optimize data, drive personalization, and deliver results faster and more efficient than ever before. If I were to ask, by the way, I have quizzes and I have some good giveaways. And for backbenchers, I can kind of point and I would want you to answer the question, right? So be attentive. There's some good giveaways also for this. Let's set it up. Probably not a giveaway for this because this is a publicly available data, you might know it. But make a guess, what is the global market revenue for AI usage in marketing? The global market revenue for AI usage in marketing. Any guesses? Quick show of hands. No? Okay, I thought that would be. So, $47 billion. Humongous. And it's not stopping, it's just the tip of the iceberg and we're just scratching the surface out here. To put it in a little bit of context, so what you see in this graph is the AI usage in campaign optimization. Okay, can be a little complicated, so just be with me for 30 seconds. So we have different customers in their different revenue buckets today, right? And we have the we have the creative optimization or creative usage year on year for them. So if you see, in the initial stages of the company, as they are in the initial stages of revenue stream, the impact is not as much. But as we go higher, the impact is huge. They are pushing the customers, advertisers, brands to much higher revenue buckets. That's the power of AI. The ability to personalize creatives at scale, reaching the audience at the right time, on the right platform, with the right kind of, that's where the rubber hits the road, right? Second one, we're going to hear more about this in the session that Varun and Gulshan are also going to kind of cover. platforms like Flipkart, Myntra, Amazon are turning their first-party data into high-impact networks. Now, one would say, why does that matter? Imagine a brand reaching a shopper right at the time when the person is buying in the very platform. That's the scale, right? So giving that context and giving that ability to the brands to reach to the user at the right time, that's what retail media does. It's not, and these retail media, they are not just selling ad spaces. They are unlocking the what I call it, the data-driven, I'm just not getting the word, I'm sorry. Let me look at it. The data-driven targeting I'm so sorry. Data-driven targeting for the brands to kind of optimize and scale the campaign at scale. And it's just not there. So the growth of retail media is much higher. Like we're growing at 40% year on year, expected to be at $28 billion by end of 2028. And it's just the beginning. It's only going to grow higher there. So coming back to the event that we have today, we have a host of speakers coming there, sharing their insights of the problems that they face, how they encounter it, and how are the solutions they kind of put in force. But this event, as Garima said before, wouldn't be possible without great support and collaboration by our partners, Meta, Moloko, Apple, Arki, Voyantis, and Liftoff. Thank you so much for your collaboration. So what's on the agenda for the next day and a half? I'm going to run through the state of app marketing insights. Post that, we'll have a deep dive onto the vision for and roadmap for 2025. We're also going to have a look at what the roadmap for India looks like. We have speakers from outside who are going to give us an impression of how India is poised for the growth ahead. We're going to look at the specific challenges that marketing orgs have today and how they are overcoming it. And one of the sessions that I'm very passionate about, deep dive, because of the lot of pressure and timelines that we have in our daily work life, we kind of lose the theme on the passion that we kind of grew up with. But we have two of such speakers come and share their story with us. How did they kind of adhere to the passion, even if they kind of missed it in between, started all over, and it's helping them in their daily lives, both professional and personal. And above all, we have Professor Balaz. Where are you? Right from the INSEAD, coming here and going to discuss about and share his thoughts about efficiency and leadership decision-making in ambiguity, with poker as an analogy. So we have if you're not already downloaded, I'll request you to download the app. It gives you the entire agenda, and you have the ability to kind of look at the agenda over. So quickly jumping into what I'm here for today is the State of App Marketing report. Now, this is a report that we publish normally every year. This time, we have taken a little bit of a deviation and getting a little more insights into it. I can promise you this is fresh from the oven, just for ears and eyes, your ears and eyes. So feel free to take out your camera phones, take snapshot, share it with your folks around if you find anything interesting. Normally, for the study to happen, there is a sample set data that we need, right? But in case of AppsFlyer, I would argue the market itself is the data set for us. With 83% market share and growing, you can be rest assured that every single app possibly is being accounted for, and we look at that granularity of the data. So what this report is essentially going to cover is the state of app economy in India, the growth opportunities that lie ahead, possibly a global footprint of India, and what is the regional focus that might be required as we kind of leap into 2025 and beyond. First thing first, it's always a question like, is the Indian app economy going? Is it growing? I'm sorry. I would say it's booming. And let me take you through that data why. By the way, this is one of my favorite part of the presentation, not because I'm doing it, because I'm a data guy, and I believe in God we trust. For everything else, we need data. So this is the data at its core. Today in India, we have give and take about 11,000 apps running, of which about 1.1 thousand apps are from India. Okay, so be with me. I mean, it might take a little while to understand. So in most common terminology, we call it ROO and ROB, region of origin. I don't want to call it HQ because there are a lot of companies in India which might have HQ in Singapore and stuff like that. So they are India-originated apps, and then there are global apps like Netflix and others, Ubers and stuff like that are doing. So sum total about 11,000, 1,100 are the Indian apps. So the first and foremost, I think there is enough and more scale for Indian apps to kind of grow within India itself. Now, here is the giveaway question. We have a gentleman with the swag. Make a guess. How many app installs did AppsFlyer measure in 2025 in India? 2024, sorry, yeah. You have it? Come on, come on. It's a nice giveaway, you don't want to lose it. Anybody? 2 billion. Okay, anyone else?
Is AppsFlyer allowed?
Huh?
Is AppsFlyer allowed?
No, not at all. How much is it? 50? 50 or 15?
50.
Okay, anyone else? One last try. The closest one will get it.
25 billion. 25 billion.
25. Do you guys want to optimize?
Somebody from the back is saying 100.
No, no. Quickly, quickly.
10. 10 billion.
10 billion?
Garima, I will give it to you. You decide who's the winner. Okay, it's 13 billion.
So I think she was the closest.
Priya?
10, yeah.
Fantastic. So 13 billion installs is what AppsFlyer measured. Didn't I say it's not the sample data, it's the market itself? Please. Thank you so much, Priya. And if we were to break it down by what's the share of Indian apps in that and global apps? So India is about 45%. So while only about 10-15% is contributing to 45%, but there's still a strong competition from the foreign apps to India. So there's huge scale for us growth in India, no doubt about that. Let's look at the paid installs. The paid install share is about 6 billion today in India, in 2024 essentially, of which the breakup between non-gaming and gaming is 70% and 30%. The good news is, at least I've been kind of wishing for it for a long time, the gaming percentage is finally increasing, right? The psyche and the culture of gaming in India, when we say, who would spend money on buying the coins and going to the next level? I think that mindset is changing. Okay, it's also very important, I think this is where rubber hits the road. Where do your apps reside, right? On the phones. So what's the mix of smartphones in India? Well, this is a classic, snapshot for 2024. But if I were to kind of draw a comparison between 2019 and 2024, you will see there is not a similarity. There's no one player who kind of leads every year. Look at 2019, Xiaomi was at 23%. I don't think we see them in top 8, top 10 in 2024. So there's no one outright winner, outright leader. So as you draw or you make the campaigns, it's very important for you to look at where these apps are going to host it and then build it accordingly. If at all you guys had a doubt that is Indian economy growing, app economy growing, and I said it's booming, here's the proof. This is a year-on-year growth for installs in India. And it's growing at 10% faster than worldwide growth. While the growth percentage had declined in last few years during the COVID and all, we still were growing, right? It's just that the percentage was a little less. But 2023 is where we see the tipping point, right, of the trough when things are moving up and it's growing and it's set to boom from here. So great times ahead of us. Great times ahead of us. And if we were to cut it into various sectorial views by industry, finance is leading by far at a 53% CAGR, followed by gaming and shopping. So I think we just wanted to take 2, 3, we can kind of get into more details, but if in the interest of time, we just wanted to kind of cover some of the leading ones. And this is a point-in-time graph for the growth that we see across the industries. So if you look at 2019, finance was not out there, and it's growing at a great pace ever since. I think lending, UPI scale, and most importantly, one of the categories that we saw a huge boom in last few years, this is my guess, is the stock brokerage apps and huge adoption on that. I think that's leading fundamentally to a huge, huge growth out there. Okay, now that we looked at India, let's look at the global footprint. Like where does India stand as a booming app economy? How much is our contribution to the world? So if you were to look at these 1100 apps that I spoke in the earlier part of the presentation, and they're just doing installs outside of India, keep India outside, this is a classic graph, right? I think Sid and anyone else can kind of look at because they had their international business in Hotstar and, or all the other OTT players. 56% is coming out of US and a very small percentage from rest of the country. US is an outright winner. But this doesn't tell us the clear picture. Here is an interesting question, and we have another swag for that. Out of every 1,000 installs that Indian apps drive, okay, all the Indian apps that they drive globally, 1,000 installs globally, how many of those 1,000 installs happen in the foreign markets? Give me a number, don't give me percent. I'm a data guy, but I don't want to do maths right now. Huh? 50, good. 200, great. We're talking about 1,000 installs India as a whole is doing. How much of that is world giving? Leaving India aside.
75?
75, brilliant. 100, fantastic.
20.
You really want to win a swag, no? 2,000. Come on, do we have a special swag? Guys, here is it. Just 2. Does this tell? Does it ring a bell? We're talking about 0.2% of installs happening globally from the Indian apps outside. So a huge, huge market outside. I bump into a lot of gaming guys and I bump into a lot of other guys who have global business. And of course, there is a huge thing a huge problem to be solved for India. India provides a lot of market, but the LTV is far, far higher outside. So a great opportunity for all the marketers to kind of go into that untapped market. So yeah, 14 million, so 2%, 0.2% of that. And here also finance is, by the way, leading the category. So I think fintech is kind of driving it all over. So while we looked at the app installs in foreign markets, let's look at everybody contributing to India, like there are installs happening in India. So I think the best way to look at it was to take, let's say, all the movers and shakers per se in the country, like the big ones who really drive the economy forward. So we looked at top 200x, the typical 80-20 rule, right? So we took a look at the top 200 apps by install category. And so India is doing well, like we're contributing to 61% share. And it's been growing. But I also wanted you to have a look at this. I don't know if Ronan recollects. I remember back in 2017-18, I was telling him, can I be comped on the installs happening in India rather than what installs I get from Indian customers? So this share of China was about 45%. And then it consistently came down because of the geopolitical climate. Indian economy is doing well. A lot of Indian apps, category creations, right? Quick commerce, blah, blah, stuff like that. So, but this is where the momentum is shifting and it's going higher. I'm actually a little bit surprised what is the 16% of China, but nevertheless, that's for the government to kind of figure out. So this is a year-on-year change that we see 2023, 2024. Of course, India is growing 5% and set to go much higher. Vietnam has taken over 23% year-on-year share, right? And the surprising thing, it's not the gaming, it's the entertainment. All you OTT guys out here. And rest of the other markets are kind of on a decline. Seasonal trends. For those of you who are not from India, India is not just one country, right? We have multiple regions, multiple countries, different culture. Every 200 kilometers, the language changes, the culture changes, the fabric changes, the food changes. You can't paint India in one color. I mean, you can if it is cricket in blue, but otherwise you just can't paint India with one color. So let's have a look at what is the seasonal impact. While different regions, again, will have different seasonal impact, but I just wanted to kind of give an overarching theme of how it looks like for India. So the moment we come out of Q4, Q1 is the financial year end for Indian government and most of Indian businesses. So this is subdued Jan, Feb. And in March, it starts kicking off. And then it gets clubbed with what? The biggest event, IPL, right? And then IPL takes it up. Last year was a little bit of a deviation because we had, a lot of elections going on and stuff like kind of prolonged for Q2. And then in Q3, we see things settling down, people making strategies and stuff like that. And then that's where the festive season picks up, right? From Dussehra to Diwali and Christmas and New Year's Eve and stuff like that. So that's where it is. So there was a little bit of an unrest in the world, tech meltdown and stuff. So unlike most of the previous years, the Q4 looks little less. But essentially, if you look at the top point, typical sinusoidal curve, it is a sinusoidal curve, but it may vary from region to region. This is overarching for India. And the first time what we're doing this year in the study, I think this is by far the most interesting stuff that we have done, is enabling brands to create their marketing strategies. Like I was just a few months back with one of the largest OTT players in India, and they were discussing as to what should be our 2025 goal. We went back to drawing board, something that's a term that Ziv and I had coined as ACS. So we did research on their app, their prominence, where the market lies, and what are the things that they should do from an go-to-market strategy point. And why could we do that? Because of our understanding, footprint, and I spoke about that. So here's what we did. Just let's think of finance as a category right now, okay? So we looked at it from two dimensions. One is from the state share. So what state share essentially means is the number of apps of a category, which is finance in this case, divided by total number of finance apps in the country, right? So are you guys with me? Great. So number of finance apps, let's say in Maharashtra, divided by the total number of finance apps in all of the country. That gives you a state share. And if we were to plot a heat map for this, this is how it looks like. Like the Maharashtra and UP, I think, contribute about 40%. So a strong share, and others are little lagging. Maybe we can kind of get a little deeper into that and figure it out what are the strategies that needs to be done for that. But this, I think, is unidimensional. In my mind, this is not giving a clear picture. So we just looked at it from other lens, which is looking at the penetration rate. Now, what happens in penetration rate? What we do is we look at the same thing. Devices of a certain category, which is finance in this case, Maharashtra as an example, divided by the smartphones or devices in that state. So that gives us the penetration rate in that. And the heat map looks a little different, right? Much different than before. So when you look at these two metrics combined, firstly, you'll see a heat map changing, a lot of amber and red becoming green and amber respectively, or some of the greens becoming a little amberish when you look at these two. So this is a classic way of looking at in a proper 2x2 matrix. State share on one side, penetration rate on other side. You have low, high state share, high penetration rate, no brainer. It's great, cash cows. We kind of focus on retention, do monetization, do premium offerings. Frontier markets, low state share, low penetration rate, test ground, right? We run pilots, we do a lot of testing out there. And then the strategies around when you have high state share and a low penetration, or a high penetration with low state share, and what do you kind of do in those sections accordingly. So when you look at the two different matrices, it kind of gives you a right view on what the strategy from a go-to-market standpoint should be. Now again, why are we able to do it? Is because technically 83, 84%, arguably whatever. In fact, in the enterprise category, some of us were looking at the number and looked like 90%, but we'll leave that percentage to the research analysts to tell us what's the market share. Because we have a stronger market share, it's not a sample data, it's the market itself that tells you what we have to do. So I'll be happy to share more details around that, but for your eyes and ears right now, we thought we'll look at the three different categories that I showed before, which is finance, and look at by 2x2 matrix, what the, yes, please keep taking pictures, what the go-to-market strategy should look like from a low-hanging fruit to the tougher grounds, and then look at shopping and gaming. Okay? So that sums up my presentation for state of app marketing, but I do not want to leave unless I give these 2, 3, 4 takeaways, at least for me. India's story is on a rebound, it's growing thick and fast, but there are markets that we have to venture into. It is self-reliant, but then we have to kind of look at, as a category, are there other markets that we want to kind of get into? Seasonality, of course, matters. And no two regions will have the same seasonality. So we have to look at seasonality and then decide on our campaigns accordingly. And last but not the least, no two regions are different. No two regions are same, I'm sorry. And when we are deciding on the strategy, we have to take the nuances of that region and the environmental factors in place and then kind of do that. That pretty much is from my side. Thank you so much.